Hello, thanks so much. So today we're going to be talking about social media, which is one of my personal favourite topics to talk about. But before we start, I really want to gauge the room. I want to know where we sit in terms of social media within your organisation. So could we just have a hands up of where, let's say, do you use social media at all? Let's just hands up for that. Thank God, okay. Whew, I'm in the right place. And let's talk about confidence. How confident do we feel around our business's social media? How confident do we feel that it's doing the job? Okay, so it's like we're there. Right, so today we're going to talk through, I've kind of made this session a bit about like what we could do and then a bit of training, and I'm going to leave a massive gap at the end because I really want questions. So this is a really good opportunity for you guys to just throw whatever at me, and hopefully I'll know the answer. If I don't, we can carry this offline, or online, should we say. So just a quick intro to myself, just so you kind of know I'm not just a random person that they've got off the street. So I run an influencer marketing agency and inclusive marketing agency. So we work with brands around their social media strategies, their influencer marketing strategies, and all things digital, really. We do a lot around representation in the advertising industry, so making sure that there's a really big interest with our brands in accessibility and understanding how to use social media in a way that it targets everyone and not just one type of person. So I feel like this is going to be quite useful today for a lot of you, because I imagine you've got quite a massive target audience that you want to really kind of refine down. I keep forgetting I have a screen down here. So we work with a whole load of people, mainly in the corporate sector, but I personally have worked a lot with local governments and lots of, I'm from London, so lots of London local councils around social media and kind of strategy on that side. So today the title is Leveraging Your Organisation on Social Media. So I'm going to talk about kind of where we sit, and I'm really interested to see where actually you all sit in terms of the platforms that you're using. Because in the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic, we've seen everything go online. Digital is everything. And for a lot of your time, it was actually everything. It's all you had until we could go back into the real world. And with that, we've seen the rise in different social media platforms, such as TikTok. I imagine a lot of your students are currently on there. And I imagine a lot of us are like, how do we use it? How do we use it? So we can have conversations around that. Meme culture is kind of blown up, not only for Gen Z, young people, but also in millennials and boomers WhatsApp groups and Facebook pages. So we're going to start off talking about strategy. So when it comes to creating your social media strategy, and my question here, how many people actually have a social media strategy? Okay, a few of you. So something that is often forgotten about social media is that it is an actual job. And I think sometimes it's often given to just someone who's excited. I remember one of my first jobs, I went in it was my first job actually, I went in as an admin assistant, and some person was like, oh, and our Twitter, and I said, oh, the Twitter is really bad. And then they said, well, can you do a better job? And I was like, yeah, I can actually, being like a 20-year-old thinking, oh, I can, and I could, and ended up then taking over the social media and working my way up to marketing manager. But it was the idea that someone was just given the Twitter account because someone needed to manage it, but there wasn't actually a plan as to why they were using Twitter full stop. So we really need to think about who's going to be in charge of the social media and why. So my first question is always, what is it that you want to achieve out of using your social media? And I think for a lot of you, it's quite a similar answer, but also it could be so many things. So I imagine we've got the idea of recruiting parents and children to join the school. You would probably use it to recruit teachers to join the school. Also as a portfolio to showcase who you are and what you do. There's so many things that you can do to promote your brand as a school. But it's figuring out the right platform for the right people and the right type of content, which can be quite difficult unless you have that plan. So my key questions around this is, who's looking after your social media? Do you have a dedicated person? Is it a social media manager or a marketing manager that sits within the team? Is it outsourced? Or is it that kind of random person that you're hoping will just do a really good job? If it's any of those, there has to be a strategy around it. So it can't just be, post and hope for the best. We have to make a plan. That plan will entail how frequently you post, the kind of platforms you're going to be on, the tone of voice, and how you react to things. And I know after this, there's a crisis comms session, which for you, I imagine, would be really useful, because having that really good tone of voice that really expresses who you are, and also how you deal with being online, and how when people come to you, because the internet is a very weird world. It's a very weird place to be on, and sometimes it's all fine and dandy, and other times you have some random crazy people in your Twitter account talking about weird things that you have no idea what's going on. So knowing how to deal with that is really important. And then safeguarding, which obviously is massive for you. As I talk to businesses about this on a daily basis, about working with creators and celebrities and talent in safeguarding. But when it comes to children, that is obviously the biggest priority around social media. So having an idea of what kind of content can we actually post on our social media to showcase the school, but maybe not always showcasing the pupils. How do we show them that we're really great, but also maybe not showing the kids? Does that even work for us? So platforms is a key thing for me. Feel free to just shout at me, what kind of platforms are you using? I imagine it's a lot of Facebook and Twitter. Is anyone else using any other platforms? Instagram. Oh, I love this. Okay. My school definitely wasn't on Instagram. And what about things like YouTube? Is anyone making YouTube content? Oh, okay, into this. And then Pinterest. Oh, couple. Pinterest is often the forgotten platform, which is one of my favorites. A weird one, Snapchat. Anyone on Snapchat? Yeah, I didn't think so. Or TikTok. Oh, okay, that is a surprising... okay, that's cool. I'm into this. And then LinkedIn, I imagine you're all using for recruitment. Yeah. Okay, so the way I think about these different platforms is they all have a similar use, but you can always use them in different ways. So if we start off with Facebook. So Facebook is kind of like the home. We all started with Facebook. We have it. If you're just starting out now in Facebook, it's really not a good time to be doing it. Facebook changed its algorithm in, when was this? I think like 2017 or maybe even earlier. So it's very difficult to grow on Facebook now. So Facebook is very much focused, unless you have a good page or group, which I imagine groups would be quite good with all of you because of the parents. But it's not going to be like your biggest platform outside of Facebook advertising, so that paid social. Instagram can be used for both, but also great for engaging students as well as their parents, because at this rate, I think kind of every generation has Instagram. Anyone from my parents to my grandparents now have Instagram, which I think is wonderful, because for personal life, it's showcasing everything you're doing. For a business, it's showcasing, again, everything you're doing in a very beautiful way. The focus is currently on video, but great place to showcase photos, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Snapchat is a weird place, and I'm glad none of you are on it, because it's very much for the younger generation, and I think it would be quite difficult to hit them with Snapchat, so we'll move away from that. But YouTube, I'm very interested to see that a few of you are on there, because there's lots of ideas that can be kind of built up onto YouTube, showcasing your exciting events that you're hosting and the days that you've got on. I imagine there's lots of fun things that you can get a videographer in or an editor to compile some video content together to create. But it's good not just for showcasing content, but also the ads are extremely successful. So if you've got a really good target audience and a good ad manager, be that in-house, or if you can get someone, if you can outsource like a third party to do, which I often think works quite well. YouTube can be fantastic, and that's the same for platforms like Pinterest. when we're looking for inspiration, a lot of us often go to places like Pinterest. So if we're looking for, certain, if we typed in like stately home or, something exciting, and if your school is used outside of teaching, if you use it for event hosting or anything that's kind of renting out a beautiful space, Pinterest is a fantastic opportunity for you to showcase all of your beautiful pictures that you would have had professionally taken, and putting in your correct keywords. If someone's looking for insert, whatever it might be, Pinterest is a really good opportunity, and the traffic that goes from Pinterest to your site is fantastic. I think the conversion is so much better between Pinterest. I work with both Pinterest and Instagram, the platforms, quite regularly with some of our creators that we look after on at the agency. And with Pinterest, it's just such an exciting place because it's often forgotten. People forget to really just delve into it in a professional capacity. But there's so much that can be done that will give you traffic to your site and lead you to a brand new audience that you might not have had before. So I always like to think, we've got our business, but outside of this business, what is there to do? And that might not fit into your remit, but something to think about. LinkedIn, a really great way to show personality. So recruiting great staff is obviously a priority. So showcasing who you are behind the scenes. LinkedIn now have options for LinkedIn stories, similar to Instagram. You have options to do lives, if that's something that you'd be interested in. And I think there's so much opportunity across all of these platforms to really showcase who you are to the specific person. So maybe what you'd post on LinkedIn would be slightly different to Instagram, but it would hit the target audience that you want. So yeah, lots of opportunity there. So building your strategy or developing your strategy. So you have to think about, first of all, who's your audience? And I think for each platform, there's going to be there might be a completely different audience here. So your audience on Instagram may differ from your audience on LinkedIn. Your audience on Facebook will differ from Instagram, as an example. So you have to create kind of mini strategies for each person. So thinking about, okay, so if we're going to target parents, this is what we're going to do. If we're going to target our students to help them engage with the school culture and to really feel proud of what we're doing and get them to come to these extracurricular activities that you guys are putting so much effort into and you actually want people to come, how are we going to communicate with these people? But then also, what are the goals? Do we actually want them to communicate with us, or do we want them to just be able to see this? So is it a sense that, okay, so for parents, we really want them to be active and chatty, so let's make a Facebook group and let them have their say. Sometimes maybe we don't want that for a specific event or whatever it might be, so maybe we just want to showcase what we're doing on more of a bulletin board kind of vibe. So that could be just showcasing it on Instagram and just some pictures. So we really have to think about why you're doing it. And then on the back of that, what is success? So do you need and want likes and comments? Is the engagement important to you? Or is it just, are followers important to you? Is it having 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers on your Instagram? Is that a big deal to you? Or is it having the right amount of followers made up of your alumni, made up of your current students and their parents, and them having actual conversations? That might only be a couple of hundred people, but if it's a couple of hundred people or maybe 1,000 people actively engaging with what you're doing, that I feel like that would be what you would be looking for. Whereas maybe if you wanted to do something slightly different, you wanted to have the school held to like a different level, maybe like a celebrity status, depending on where you sit. Maybe you're really into having lots of followers and becoming verified and being that kind of like hero school, which, is a great strategy. But again, you have to think, will loads of people following us lead to anything else apart from, gratification online? And then my biggest question to everyone is, what are the resources that you have? And I think sometimes we get really excited with social media strategies and we're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go on YouTube, Charlotte said that Pinterest is great, I'm going to do this, fantastic. And then you look around, you're like, oh, but who is going to do that? Who is in charge of that? So I think it's really important to figure that out. So how many of you have specific people within your team that are kind of social media qualified, let's say? Oh, fantastic. How many of you are those people? A few of you. Cool. Nice to meet you all. Welcome to my team. So this is great. So those people will know this, others won't. But when we define our audience, it's a bit of a science, and I think it's really important that if this isn't your job, that you're fully aware of the job that the social media manager is doing, so that not only you can help and guide and give advice on, but also know that someone is doing their job correctly. So if things aren't happening in the way that they should be, you have the knowledge to say, okay, this isn't quite working, we should be doing this. I don't know personally how to do it, but I know that this should be done. So when we define our audience, no matter what the company is, be it a school, be it a beauty brand, be it a fashion brand, whatever it might be, we have to think about who the people are, and we make customer or buyer personas, very much a sales tool. So we understand their age, their gender, their location, the social media platforms that they're using, and why it is that they should be interested in your content, which then makes you understand the type of content that you should be creating. The big question is, what's the connection? So a customer persona, just to clarify, is a summary of the characteristics, needs, motivations, environment, and behavior of typical distinct audience types. So we normally create people. So we've got Michaela, we had Millie. I like to create them quite specific. So within my company, we have personas, and my team put them together a couple of years ago. And I was laughing at one of them because there was this guy, I think his name's Joe, and Joe works for an agency. He loves to run marathons. He is between 30 to 35. He lives in London, but he's not from London. There's like so many characteristics. We really delved into who he is so that we could sell specific courses to this person. I know Joe. My team made the persona. I then read that, and I was like, when you say Joe, you mean insert person, I won't say the name, from insert agency. And they were like, no, I don't think we've met him. And I was like, because he's running a marathon this weekend. He lives in London, but he's actually from Bradford. I named all of this stuff, and they were like, oh no, but this is just the kind of person that we've met for all this, all the time we've worked here, and we've created the perfect person to sell to. And I was like, well, you've done a smashing job, because that was the perfect person. But I think this is really important, that as a team, it's not just one person, but as a team, everyone feeds in, and we decide if this person actually exists. And then we had another girl, her name was Jessica, and some of her details were slightly off. And I sat down and made a focus group, and we fed back, who is Jessica? How much is she earning? What are her pain points? Why does she need us? And we sat down, and as a group, we really refined Jessica's persona, and now are able to sell. She's actually our best seller. We sell to her really well. But I think it's really important that you understand who they are. So as a team, really going in and understanding, okay, so we have this type of parent, this type of parent. We have these types of students. These are the people that we need to create content for, and this is why. So it might be the case of, for parents, you want to actively recruit them for events and extracurricular activities and get them signed up to do things. That's great. But then you also want other parents who are like word of mouth evangelist sellers that can do your job for you without you even kind of saying anything. And then you have other parents that you've never met, and you're trying to bring them in because you really need to get next year's or the year after. I feel like with schools, you're really far ahead in terms of years. You have to sign up ages. I've just found this out, ages to get a place at school. So you really need to dig deep into understanding who these people are. And then when you decide on content, it's not just like, right, let's just post. It's like, right, this piece of content is for this person. This piece of content is for that person. And then the expectation is that those people will then engage with that content because it's made for them. So on that note, I'm going to talk about Instagram because it's the for me, one of my favourite platforms and the easiest to talk through, but also everything it has, all the other platforms pretty much have. So when we think about the Instagram feed, we need to think about how it looks. So having a curated feed to really help you bring people in is really important. Having a bio that explains what you do is also really important. So with the feed, they say that when you look at someone's Instagram, and this is for a lot of platforms, when you look at someone's Instagram on your phone, the first 9 pictures really reflect who you are. So that means that at a first glance, within the first 3 seconds of looking at your phone, you'll know whether or not you want to follow that person. So really showcasing who you are at all times. So making sure, which we'll talk about in a couple of slides' time, we'll talk about pillars and the kind of content that we want to post, that each time you post, it's hitting the relevant topic, theme, or persona, so that you know exactly that when someone looks at your page, there's 9 pictures, one of your people that you're trying to target will be kind of targeted on that feed. Your bio is so important, that you are really clear with what you do and what your selling points are. Yes, you are a school, but what is it that you do different to your competitors? Put that in your bio. Make sure that if you have a specific motto that really showcases who you are, put that in your bio. Make it a hashtag. People might not use it widely, but you use it. So then if anyone ever searches for that hashtag on any platform, you know that you own it. Stories, showcasing your behind the scenes of who you are. Everyone loves a story, and now Instagram especially, when the algorithms change, so it's not, you don't get that much engagement currently because everything's changing on the platform, but stories are still working. So when people go on their Instagram account, same with their Facebook nowadays, they're really looking at the bubbles at the top, those stories of what people are doing, rather than on the feed. So obviously feed is important, but showcase on a regular basis what you're up to, what the pupils are up to, why you're bringing people in, and then highlights. So make sure that within those stories, the relevant ones are saved. So you have a highlight on after-school activities, on sports, on anything that will be relevant to what it is that you're trying to showcase. So if you're a sports college, making sure that you have the specific, key terms in there. If you are really big on the music side, making sure that that's focused on there. So I'm doing this in my head. This is where my Instagram page is, but really making sure that you use everything that's available to you to really showcase who you are, because you don't really have another opportunity otherwise. Kind of your social media is kind of wasted if you're not using it to the full capacity. IGV used to be known as IGTV video, so long form video, so over a minute. It's where you can have Q&As, you can have interviews, you can have your slideshow videos, whatever you want it to be, but you could really go in, you could showcase, you could even if you wanted to, I wouldn't necessarily do it in this way, but if you had a school performance, and if you had if you had permission from the parents, you could put the performance on the IGV page, or that could be saved for the Facebook group, whatever it might be. But there's so much opportunity to use the social media to really showcase the talent within the school. Reels is a really important part of Instagram right now, similar to TikTok, so quick videos. And these are really good opportunities to showcase really small snippets, 10-second, 15-second, up to a minute videos of just things that are happening. Is it sports day? And one of the parents was hilarious and ran the egg and spoon race. I don't know, this is an experience I've had with my brother at school, but running the egg and spoon race and winning, and it's the dad that wins every year for the whole time his kids at school, because he was an athlete at his school. Those kind of things. Post that on your Instagram, post that on your TikTok, whatever you have, if you have permission, and build that conversation, get the parents engaged. And then also, you might get another athlete that's been looking at Instagram, thinking about bringing their kid to your school, and be next year if I bring my kid to this school, I can win the egg and spoon race. And then guides. Didn't get pushed very much by Instagram when it launched a couple of years ago, but it's one of my favorite things that you can do in Instagram. So you can create little essentially guides, little handbooks within your Instagram that sit. It's the open book icon on top of the pictures, next to your tagged pictures. But you can do a guide on anything. So you could be like, this month's rising stars, and it could be like your new staff, or it could be awards that you've won, and you could just put a guide there. You have to think creatively in what you can do, but there's so much that can be done. To basically online, just give them a book, and it means that you don't have to wait for the graphic design team, if you have one, to sit and make you something. Your social media manager can just take all the pictures that you've posted in the past and just put it in this guide, and you can share that with people on Instagram, which is really handy. And then just making sure, I imagine you'll have this. This is something I always put into my presentations, but making sure that you're optimized for business. So on every account, making sure that you are a business account, making sure that you've got a quality logo. It's not pixelated. It's not, a copy of a copy of a copy, which we do find a lot of schools don't really, I don't know why, but I've seen a lot of schools in the past have not great logos. Make sure your logo is clear. Be really proud of your social media. Make sure your keywords, as I said before, are in your description. So ensuring that if you have a hashtag or make a hashtag, put that in your description. Put the key bits of information, because Instagram is kind of used as a search tool now. So if you put certain words in, you can actually kind of use it as a Google within Instagram. I know I personally have got loads of work in the past where someone has written just on Instagram influencer marketing training, and then because I've got that in our bio, I think, for the business account, and then also we use those words a lot for our posts. We came up multiple times, and then people have booked us through that. A call to action. So if you've got a blog post or an event or a charity something, put that link in your bio and put an arrow to it to make sure that people sign up or donate or do whatever. You only have one link. So ensure that you're using it wisely, and that's across the board. You have one link on your Instagram, you have one link on your Pinterest, you have one link on your YouTube. Actually, no, that's not true. You can put your website and stuff on there. But just make sure whatever the link is, it's used correctly. And you want to track if that link's being used. So if you're doing a link straight to your website, maybe you just want to put a bit.ly link or any kind of a Google trackable link, so you can see how many times people are actually clicking on that link from your social media, because that way you know if it's working. And if it's not, then you need to figure out new strategies to ensure that the person who is in charge of social, their time, your money's not being wasted and their time's not being wasted. So, and then making sure that whatever the link is, this is my biggest piece of advice, whatever the link is, make sure that link goes to a website that is mobile optimized. There are so many times when you click on a link on your phone and it's opens up to this massive old school website and you can't even read it, and then you lose interest and you're not going to look at the website, and then you're done. And with that, on social media platforms, you can use different types of links. So if you don't want to just put your school website because you've got so many other things, you've got an event coming up, you've got maybe a Ukraine donation link that you're trying to raise money for, you've got whatever it might be. Maybe you've got 5 links that you want at all times to be seen. You then have the option to use third-party sites like Link in Bio or Later, Link in Bio or Milkshake or Linktree, so that you can add as many links as you want, and it enables you to not lose that person. Because there's been so many times where you think, oh, we've won an award this month, we need to tell everyone, so we put it in our bio. But then people are like, oh, it's amazing you've won the award, but I want to go to your website because I want to see why you won the award. So you don't want to miss out on those potential customers or potential people. So any kind of link in bio site is really great, and they're really easy to set up. And then content. I just want to check how we are on time because I didn't realise there's no clock here. Good, okay. Perfect. So content, we need to think about what kind of content we're posting. So I've used myself as an example. As a business owner, an entrepreneur on the internet, I should think about the type of content that I'm creating and putting it out there, because essentially I want to get work from my Instagram. So I, as an entrepreneur, have a business. I talk about inclusive marketing, influencer marketing, sustainability, because I have a podcast on it, and then I have a personal life. So with those things, I want to make sure I'm hitting all of those pillars. So when someone looks on my Instagram and they see me straight away, they know exactly who I am. So there's no way for them to escape. They know, okay, Charlotte is really into this, this, and this. Oh, she does events, she speaks. Oh, we could book her as a speaker for an event. Oh, she has a podcast. I can see she's got headphones on and a mic. Cool, I want to go on her podcast, whatever it might be. So I make pillars, which is a very normal thing for so many companies. Pillars could also be changed as themes. So thinking about what are the themes. So for me, I've got entrepreneurship, sustainability, influencer marketing, personal life, and small businesses. I feel like 5 is enough. You shouldn't really go too much, otherwise you're just trying to get too much into one page. But thinking about what would your themes be? So is that parents, like their activity internally within the school, awards, after-school activities, alumni, special events, or using the grounds for something else, renting it out. If you think about what your pillars are, it might be 3, might be 5, could be 6. I wouldn't go too much. But thinking about what those key themes are. So when you look at that grid, you've got 9 pictures, but each of them hits a certain pillar. It will probably be, you'll have 4 or 5, and then you'll repeat it. But it's really clear. So when you go on that page, people know what they're doing and why they're there. And in hashtags, there's this thing where people use like a bajillion hashtags because they think it's going to get you there. But you need to be really clever with the hashtags that you use, especially nowadays. Instagram has said recently that, in the last couple of years, that they don't actually want you can use 30 hashtags in a post. They don't want you to use 30. It was a bit of a snide comment, actually, that the person said, but they said, if you're using 30, you're doing something wrong. So you want to use 3, 5 at max, depending on what you're doing, to really showcase, to really get out there, because obviously the purpose of a hashtag is to get further away from your current audience and get to a new audience. So you need to make sure that those hashtags are really bespoke to what you're doing. So you want slightly bigger ones, you kind of fit into the bigger story, but then you'll want smaller bespoke ones, like having your own personal hashtag, so you know that will always come back to you. Having like a middle-sized one so that you can get like, maybe it's a local hashtag around your local area, and then if it's a conversation that's something bigger, you'll want to go, something wider. But hashtag strategy is really important. But also, it links in very much so with kind of SEO strategy, so what your website's saying. So I think it's really important that the social media team and whoever does the website, there might be the same person, but if not, that they are speaking to each other. Because whatever you're doing on your website, trying to bring in this attention to all these new people and current people, you'll be doing the exact same thing on your social media, and they have to align, because if they don't, then something's wrong. So making sure that happens. Analytics, I'm just throwing myself at you here. So always looking back. So if you have a social media manager and you're in charge of that person, you need to see reports. You need to understand what it is that they're doing on a monthly basis, so that you have an understanding of if your social media has a purpose, what that purpose is and where it's going. If it hasn't reached its full potential yet and the purpose isn't there, then you can together figure out why that is, and then get that person to then, change your strategy and make a plan. But analytics are everything with social media. If you're not focusing on the analytics, you literally have no reason to be using your social media, because we have to remember that it is a business tool. It's a marketing tool. So for social media managers as well, really important that you create your monthly reports, not only to showcase to your boss or managers, whatever, but also to yourself, so that you know where you're going and you know what you're doing. And there are some really fantastic templates online. I think we use later.com as a scheduling tool, and they have a really lovely suite of templates that they give out for free, and you just have to change the branding colors. They're on Google Slides, and you can do a really quick it makes you look really fancy. I once was in a rush and sent we have our own templates, but sent one of their templates out to a client, and they were like, oh, wow, it's so exciting. Like, this is so exciting. I was like, yeah, this is a free template online, but, impress people. It's great. And then top tips on creativity. I really want to open the floor, so I'm going to just skip through this quite quickly. But be creative. So as much as things can be serious sometimes, really be creative with the tools that you have. So if it's on Instagram as an example, use the stickers, use the layouts and the filter, use the music function. Get people to engage, make it fun. It doesn't have to be, stuffy, but not too fun. Don't go crazy, and don't make it too busy. Go behind the scenes, showcase what's going on, obviously within reason and within your safeguarding network, but show people who you are. Share your new posts on your stories, because again, people aren't really going through the feed, they're looking at the stories. So make sure that every time you post something, put it in your stories so that people see it and then are more likely to like it and comment. Create story highlights. I said before, showcasing different things, could be sports, could be, music, whatever it is. Have a highlight for each thing, so it's really easy. And also, now we all have access to the link in our stories. In a highlight, those links will stay there forever. So if you post a story that has a link in, and then you save it into the highlight bubble, that link is forever accessible, an evergreen piece of content that you can use again and again and just direct people to. You can also actually, for one of my clients, we have an interview series that we have on the stories, and it's a highlight. And we often send, if you right-click on the desktop, or you can do it in the app as well. If you just click and get the link, you can share the link to the story highlight with anyone. So when we're recruiting new people to interview for this segment, we'll send them the link of the highlight and say, here's some previous examples of some work that we've done, and this is what it looks like, so that we don't have to send them any PDFs or anything. It's on there. Just have a look. And then not everything needs... Oh, if you... I really could do with my phone. If you... I think if you just click on it, and then on the top, I think it's the 3 dots at the top on the right, I'm pretty sure that will just... And it says copy link. I'm pretty sure it's there, but I'll grab my phone and I'll just double check it. But it's super easy and super accessible. Everything is shareable. And then what else? Audience, shout out to your audience where possible. User-generated content, UGC. Repost other people's content if you have access to it. But don't overshare, don't go wild. So here are some of my favorite tools that are super easy to use. Most of them are free, or you can have a paid version, which gets you, for not that much, will get you premium features. I actually love all of them individually. I don't have a favorite scheduling tool. Planoly, Buffer, Later. Later, you can kind of do a bit more. Planoly only works on Instagram and Pinterest currently. Buffer does a bit of everything. Later does a bit of everything. I like them all equally. InShot for video editing. You will literally become a film director if you download this app. It's free. You can create the best content in the world. I know incredible content creators, influencers online that just use InShot, and it's award-winning. VSCO, good for filters and to make your content just look a bit cooler. And then Mojo for stories. So you can make really cool templates for Instagram stories that you don't need a graphic designer for, which for us is like, yay, it just saves so much time. Sucks to be a graphic designer, but great for us. So things like, if you ever see any Instagram stories that have text, that it looks like a text message and it's typing, you can make those templates in 2 seconds. You can add in your brand colors. You can make it all bespoke to your business. It makes you look really fancy and smart, but actually it's just a template. Big fan. And then just a quick one on safety, and then I'll move on. But please make sure that you have set up 2-step verification on all your accounts, no matter what social media it is. We don't need to be hacked. We don't want that. Ensure you have parental consent for all images, and also the kids' consent as well, because what their parents want and what the kids want, 2 different things. Please remember that anything you share online is going to be shared online forever. Even if you posted it and deleted it, someone has had access to it. They may have screenshotted it. So not to scare you, but the online world is a forever place. Block anyone that you don't feel should be seeing your content and maybe is making things uncomfortable. Always protect the identity of your pupils. Don't tag them in things. Encourage them to not wear their uniform and tag you in things unless they're, maybe in the sixth form, because you really don't want to, because you weren't sure on how social media worked, you don't want them to have any trouble in the future. Watch out for suspicious messages. If you get a DM, a direct message on your Instagram or wherever to say, hey, I can verify your account or buy followers, they can't. They're not going to do it. You can buy followers, don't do that. But no one can verify your account apart from Instagram or an agency who's connected to Instagram. So you're not going to get it from some random person DMing you. And educate your students. And this is something that I'm sure a lot of you are doing. But if you're using social media and you're taking your time to really get in there and create these strategies, I think it's a really good opportunity to then speak to your students, because I have so many friends who are teachers and deputy heads and head of years. The head of years are the scariest for me, just listening to these stories. For you guys, it must be so normal, everyday experiences. But some of the things that go on in schools when it comes to social media is really scary. And I think it's because a lot of the younger students don't know how to use social media properly, because there isn't anyone teaching them how to do it. So there are lots of charities, there's lots of online places that you can get them in to talk through how to use social media. But something I would say, get someone fun to do it. Because I remember having sex education when I was at school, which I know it's very different, but having my 70-year-old biology teacher talk to me about sex education was like, come on. I feel like it's going to be the same, having anyone above the age of 35 talking about social media, it's going to be like, come on. So even though we all use social media no matter what age, it's really sad, but kids are kids, right? So just make sure it's fun and engaging and it's safety focused, but without making them feel like they don't know what they're doing. And that's it. So that's it, really quickly, kind of gone through social media in a nutshell. But I would love to have any questions, any kind of conversations now. I don't know how long we have, but let's hope we have enough time.
Thank you so much.